Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our June meeting of the Kentucky Judicial Commission on Mental Health. June is recognized as both PTSD Awareness Month and Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. These observances remind us of the importance of increasing our understanding on mental health challenges, reducing stigma, promoting access to care and support. Many individuals who interact with our courts have experienced trauma, face behavioral health needs, or encounter barriers to treatment. Through the Commission's work, we continue to explore ways to improve system responses and strengthen pathways to recovery and wellness for all Kentuckians. Thanks for being here today and for your continued commitment to this important work. We've got a full agenda ahead, so let's get started. In your materials, you will find the agenda and the minutes from our March meeting. There's also a very comprehensive community mapping report that I'd like to take just a moment to highlight. This quarter has been focused on our community mapping initiative. Since our last meeting, the Commission has continued bringing together courts, behavioral health providers, law enforcement, schools, social service agencies, healthcare organizations, and community leaders to identify local strengths, service gaps, and opportunities to improve responses for individuals and families across Kentucky. Since March, community mapping workshops have been completed in Hardin, Henderson, Scott, Mercer, Woodford, Bracken, Fleming, Mason, and Boyle counties. And I apologize for my Eastern Kentucky accent, but it's hard for me to say Boyle County. It's Boyle County.
It's a hard one.
Yeah.
Both of us understood.
you.
Yeah. These efforts engage more than 350 participants representing 200 agencies and organizations and has resulted in locally developed action plans focused on crisis response, youth intervention, transportation, reentry supports, community of care, family recovery courts, assisted outpatient treatment, and reducing stigma surrounding mental health and substance use disorders. What continues to stand out is that while every community is unique, many of the challenges are shared. Communities are seeking stronger connections between systems, better access to services, earlier intervention opportunities, and more coordinated responses for individuals and families that have complex needs. The community mapping process helps communities to move from identifying barriers to developing practical, locally driven solutions. To date, the Commission has completed community mapping efforts in 23 Kentucky counties. None of this work would be possible without the commitment of our local judges. Before a mapping event is ever scheduled, judges must be willing to champion the process, invite stakeholders to the table, and help guide efforts from invitation to implementation. We are grateful to the many judges across the Commonwealth who have provided leadership and support for these efforts in their communities. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to Commission staff Heather Weiss, who has led this initiative. Her dedication, organization, and commitment to strengthening local systems have been instrumental in the continued success and growth of the community mapping efforts across Kentucky. Good job, Heather. At our last meeting, we shared that House Bill 485 represented the Commission's legislative commitment from the Competency Work Group addressing KRS Chapter 202C. I'm pleased to report that the Commission's report has now passed and been signed into law. Good job. As this legislative process moved forward, the Commission's 202C provisions were incorporated into Senate Bill 122 through a floor amendment. Commission staff and work group members continued working closely with Representatives Nemes and Moser throughout the session to refine the language and ensure recommendations address the concerns identified by the work group. This marks a significant accomplishment for the commission. With the passage of Senate Bill 122, the commission is now 3 for 3 on legislative recommendations that have successfully become law. Yay. I wish UK's baseball team would be a little bit more like that. More importantly, these changes will help provide clear statutory guidance for courts handling cases involving those who are found incompetent to stand trial, but who have substantial probability of regaining competency. As we move to implementation, commission staff will focus on education and training. A summary of the statutory changes is included in your meeting materials for reference. Our next steps include developing an online overview, educational resource, and training opportunities to help judges and court partners understand the new provisions and their practical application. This success reflects the dedication of our workshop members, legislative partners, and commission members who contributed their time and expertise throughout this process. Great job, everyone. Okay, while it may feel like the legislative session just ended, it's already time to be thinking about 2027. I know, I feel like it hasn't ended, really. All 10 workshops have submitted legislative recommendations for consideration, and those proposals are currently being reviewed. You can expect to receive final recommendations at our September meeting. As always, we want this process to reflect the expertise of our commission members and partner agencies. If you or your organization have legislative recommendations that you would like the commission to consider, please submit them as soon as possible. Recommendations should be directed to our staff attorney, Maria Macaluso. Speaking of Maria, anyone who's been involved in the legislative process knows how much work goes into reviewing proposals, researching issues, drafting recommendations, tracking bills, and supporting our work groups throughout the session. We're incredibly fortunate to have expertise guiding this process each year, and I want to personally thank Maria for all her hard work and dedication. Good job. There she is. I would also like to take a moment to congratulate Maria on a much more exciting milestone. Maria was married in May and has recently returned from her honeymoon. That's why she's glowing. On behalf of the commission, congratulations, Maria, and best wishes to you and Nick as you begin your new chapter together. Speaking of congratulations and recognition, there are 2 commission members whose service I would like to acknowledge today. First, I'd like to recognize Cora McNabb, who's the Executive Director of the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. She's going to be retiring July 31st. Cora's been a member of this commission since its inception, has been a strong advocate for improving opportunities and outcomes for Kentuckians with disabilities. Throughout her career, she has dedicated herself to helping individuals overcome barriers to employment, achieve independence, access the supports needed to succeed in their communities. We're grateful not only for her years of service, but also for the perspective and expertise she has brought to this commission from day one. I'd also like to recognize Damon Preston, Kentucky's public advocate, who recently announced his retirement after 29 years of service with the Department of Public Advocacy. Damon began his career as a public defender in Kentucky in 1997 and has served in numerous leadership roles before being appointed public advocate in 2017. Throughout his career, he's been steadfast champion for access to justice through the constitutional rights for Kentuckians. Like Cora, Damon has been with the commission since its implementation, and we have greatly benefited from his thoughtful contributions and commitment to improving outcomes for individuals involved in our judicial system. The good news for us is that while Damon may be retiring from his role as public advocate, he plans to continue serving on the commission in retirement, and we're certainly grateful for that. So join me in thanking both Cora and Damon for their service, leadership, and dedication. Can't thank you guys enough. Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Jade Norris, Director of Strategic Initiatives and that's a hard word, philanthropy for NAMI Lexington. Jaden holds a Master's of Public Administration from Eastern Kentucky University, has built her career around public service, advocacy, strategic planning, and advancing mental health initiatives. In her current role, she leads efforts focused on community engagement, education, and expanding awareness of mental health resources and supports. As commission members know, NAMI has long been a leader in providing education, support, advocacy for individuals living with mental illnesses and their families. Throughout her work, Jaden has helped strengthen those efforts while building new opportunities to increase awareness, reduce stigma, and connect Kentuckians to resources and services. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Jade.
Well, thank you for that warm introduction. Is this microphone okay? Everyone can hear me pretty well? Thank you. Well, as you all know, I am Jaden Norris, Director of Strategic Initiatives and Philanthropy at NAMI Lexington. I've been with NAMI for almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years exactly July 1st. I began with NAMI Kentucky, where I led efforts there and recently transferred to the local Lexington chapter. So today I will be presenting an overview of NAMI, our mission, and our impact. So for anyone that's not too familiar, NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We are the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization. NAMI is a hierarchical alliance in structure, meaning that we have chapters at each level. We have NAMI National, NAMI State chapters, and NAMI affiliates. Every state you go to, you will find a NAMI chapter. So there is a NAMI Kentucky, a NAMI Alabama, NAMI New York. Within each state, there are dedicated affiliates that provide work on the ground, and those are local city affiliates. So for example, NAMI Lexington, NAMI Louisville, NAMI Bowling Green. NAMI's network includes more than 650 state and local affiliates. Here's a visual of that structure. So again, NAMI National, you can see that encompasses the entire United States. That state is, of course, I'm using Kentucky, our state, showing you that is statewide, and then specifically Lexington, located in Fayette County. So a little bit into structure. NAMI National, our national office headquarters is located right out of Washington, D.C. in Arlington, Virginia, where our leadership is CEO Dan Gilson. Dan, I want to brag a little bit about him. He is a great CEO, especially to be a CEO of such a large organization. You can find him at any NAMI conference, convention, even local state events. So he's just incredible. NAMI's mission is to provide advocacy, education, support, public awareness for anyone suffering with a mental health condition and/or their family members. Our vision is to see a world where anyone suffering with a mental illness can live a strong, healthy, happy life. So a few of the functions at NAMI National, they set the strategic direction for the entire organization. NAMI National has nearly 3,000 employees, so there are various departments and teams at the national level in Arlington. With that being said, there's various departments and teams that run the organization to make sure it's running smoothly. We have a field governance team, we have a public policy and advocacy team, a branding team, a communication team, anything that you would think NAMI, it does have. With that being said, they provide materials, technical assistance, branding support to states and our affiliates. So all of our educational material, our handouts, our pamphlets, they are standard and uniform across the nation. And that is one of the strengths of NAMI, is that you will be receiving evidence-based information, practices that are vetted by our national team. They establish public policy platforms to influence federal decisions, and that is, of course, at the federal level, and I'll get into it later a little bit more about the local level. They operate the NAMI helpline, similar to the 988 Crisis Lifeline. NAMI, we do have our own helpline that is nationally, and that number is, see how good I am, 800-920-NAMI 6264. I'm pretty positive, but you can also double check if you ever want to call. And then lastly, they do organize our NAMI National Convention, NAMICon. Each year that moves somewhere differently. This past year, actually just last week, NAMICon was held in Atlanta, Georgia. The year prior was actually virtual, and then before that was in Denver, Colorado, where our entire team had the pleasure of attending. Specifically to the state level, so NAMI state organizations, and I'll use NAMI Kentucky. Of course, the headquarters are here in Kentucky. The executive director currently is Beth Wilcutt-Littlefick, and NAMI Kentucky acts as the bridge between affiliates and the national team. They do lead efforts statewide. They promote mental health education and awareness all throughout Kentucky. They advocate at the state and local government for improved mental health care, and I actually do have a slide specific to advocacy. They support all affiliates with training and materials, and then they also help create new NAMI affiliates throughout local communities. There you go. NAMI Lexington is known as an affiliate, so just as an affiliate, our role is to provide the hands-on work on the ground directly to our community. That being support groups, mental health trainings, QPR, suicide and prevention trainings, mental health first aid, any and all psychoeducation for individuals, families, and professionals. We also organize mental health awareness events such as NAMI Walks and all things Mental Health Awareness Week and Mental Health Awareness Month, which was the month of May that we just concluded. NAMI affiliates are in all 50 states and in Puerto Rico. A little bit about governance and leadership. NAMI National is governed by a board of directors and a team of senior executives. Newly, they actually just established a NAMI Next Generation Council that includes youth and young adult input and voices to kind of drive change and just have new, fresh minds to be involved in decision making. That structure ensures that NAMI National strategy is uniform across the board. However, I do want to mention all states do have the unique capacity to have their own local board of directors. So NAMI Kentucky does have its own board of directors. And even further in NAMI Lexington, we have our own board of directors as well. We are a Model A affiliate. So now we're really getting into the NAMI weeds, and I'll break it down for you all. NAMI, of course, we went through the structure, national state affiliates. Within affiliates, there's a Model A affiliate that has the capacity to govern themselves, that runs their own board, that fundraises. We have our own 501c3 nonprofit number. We have our own budget and our own contract. We are completely separate in terms of governance from the state chapter. Model B affiliates, they're a little bit smaller and rely a little bit more on the state's assistance. Oftentimes you can find these affiliates in rural communities. For example, NAMI Moorhead is a Model B affiliate that operates under the capacity of the NAMI state office. Signature programs. So again, signature programs are the services that are provided by NAMI national, NAMI states, and NAMI affiliates. And I have actually listed all of the signature programs. I won't go through every single one of them, but they are in your packet. I do want to focus a little bit on support groups because if you've ever heard of NAMI, I'm sure you're familiar with our support groups. The first being NAMI Connections. So NAMI Connections is a support group that is modeled for anyone themselves who is actively or recovering from a mental illness, mental health condition, or behavioral health condition. Though that support group is for those individuals directly to create a sense of community with one another, to relate to one another, and to also encourage one another. Secondly, we have NAMI family support groups. NAMI family support groups, as you would assume, are for the family members of those who have loved ones that may suffer from a mental health condition. So parents, relatives, siblings, that extra network of care that you may not suffer yourself, but you have a loved one that does, they are very important as well. So we create that sense of community for them also. Here are a few NAMI classes, and when I say a few, I just mean a few. We have everything NAMI that ranges from peer-to-peer, NAMI veteran support. We have NAMI family to family, NAMI friends, NAMI hearts and minds that deal with healthy living and healthy practices. So just about any niche you could find. As we all know, mental health fits in every sector of our lives. NAMI most likely has a class for it. More into our signature programs. All of our signature programs are led by peers. Those peers have underwent a serious and strategic either training through NAMI Nationals or a virtual coaching session to be certified to lead these programs. Here is a statistics sheet specific to Kentucky, and I'm going to go dive a little deeper into our local efforts here. This statistics sheet was actually created by our NAMI National Policy and Advocacy team. They dive into every state around the nation into statistics, data, and facts, and provides our state office with this sheet. And they do that about an every 5-year basis based on data. And I won't read every data fact on here because I'm sure we're all aware, but just to highlight a few important pieces. 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness each year. In Kentucky, 242,000 have experienced serious mental illness. So I think those numbers just really reflect the seriousness and the importance of mental health care, mental health services, and the work the Commission is doing to provide that. Again, on NAMI Kentucky advocacy. So as I stated before, one of the roles of the state chapter is to provide or to host a annual advocacy day. I will say this is one of NAMI Kentucky's strengths. Each year, they gather a strong, dedicated group of advocates. We have legislators come. We have very important keynote speakers. And I included this picture. I had to. You can see our 2026 keynote was Chief Justice Lambert, and she spoke and highlighted the important work of the Commission. And a little further into that, on Advocacy Day, affiliates are brought together to be uniformed with legislative priorities. We've supported and been proud advocates for legislation backing 988, mental health parity, and as mentioned earlier, House Bill 485 that was adopted into Senate Bill 122. NAMI National also has a National Hill Day that is hosted in Washington, D.C. I have had the privilege to attend that for 2 years, and it is a great, it's a great Hill Day to be a part of. It's very successful. Advocates from across the nation focusing on some of that federal mental health policy. NAMI affiliates throughout Kentucky. I've really focused a lot on Lexington because that's where I am, but I want to be sure to include all of our affiliates. As you can see, that is spread from the west to central to a little bit of eastern Kentucky, from Bowling Green, Danville, Louisville, and Lexington, all the way to Moorhead and Murray. So, diving a little specific to Lexington, NAMI Lexington was established in 1985. We were originally established as BAMI, the Bluegrass Alliance for the Mentally Ill. And then you see as time changes and names change, we fortunately are now the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We serve the marginalized and underserved populations in Lexington, those dealing with SMI, co-occurring SUD, and all things behavioral health. NAMI Lexington has 2 decades of experience with the Department of Behavioral Health contracting for our services. And a little bit further into that, we have strong relationships with New Vista, local community health partners, UK Healthcare, and Eastern State Hospital as well. One of our strengths is Participation Station. This is our peer-operated center that houses all of our programs and services. We invite all consumers to go to Participation Station and take mental health classes, courses, and we also expand on to broader, just everyday skills, how to balance a checkbook or how to obtain your license, because small things like that, sometimes when we're in a mental health crisis, we forget those basic necessities. So that is also some of the services NAMI Lexington provides. We have our Kentucky Stars. We also have a local Lexington warm line that our peers operate. So that is a warm line, not a hotline. If you call after hours, you will get a call back, but it is a warm line. And then again, mental health first aid, QPR, crisis intervention training, and CRIT. So, mental health court. And if you'll forgive me, I am going to read a little bit directly off these slides. For anyone that is not aware, Judge John Tackett actually presides over our Fayette Mental Health Court. I, of course, invited him and begged him to present on these slides, but he is actually in court today. So, but NAMI Lexington has operated the Fayette Mental Health Court since its creation in 2014. This rose as a recommendation, emerged from the Mayor's Task Force of Homelessness, and is directly funded through LFUCG NAMI Lexington. The program initially began as an underfunded volunteer program through our staff and has since been funded through the Gray and Gorton administration. It is organized by NAMI Lexington, Judge John Tackett, and formerly Judge Kim Wilkie. 2025 was a landmark for Fayette Mental Health Court. Since the program's inception, Fayette Mental Health Court has served near 623 individuals, including 105 graduates, 105 terminations, and 413 individuals who were evaluated and ultimately declined participation. And I do just want to highlight anyone that has been declined participation, it may mean they have a existing offense and possibly not a mental health condition. However, they are still assessed and receive that free assessment. So here's a little bit more into statistics. For the sake of time, I will not read all of those, but in 2025, we did have 25 participants graduate. We do have an annual mental health graduation, Fayette County Mental Health Court graduation every year. That is actually upcoming the end of this month. So I'd be happy to welcome and extend the invitation for anyone and everyone to attend. You get to hear some of the testimonies from the graduates, from the alumni, and it is very moving to just see how their lives have changed. NAMI Lexington hosts one of our largest events, NAMI Walks. This is our awareness event and our largest fundraising event. It's more of a fun run. It's not an actual 5K. We have inflatables for kids. We have food that's provided, giveaways. We have a live band and music, and it's really a day of community and laughter and just speaking about the importance of mental health, but also pairing it with a day of positivity. We invite individuals, companies to come and attend and to donate, of course, as much or as little as they can, but really to just be involved. So every year this is hosted in October. We do not have the specific date yet, but once we do, I'll be happy to share it. NAMI Lexington has participated in our signature fundraising event since 2005, and at our peak, raising over $100,000. And at the end, you will find in your slides that I provided a timeline of NAMI through the years from its inception until now. These are some fun facts that you can read and just be updated on all things NAMI. But as I mentioned in the beginning, we are the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization. We actually began due to a table of just concerned mothers that had children that were suffering from mental health conditions. They felt like they had nowhere to go, nowhere to turn to. So they got together at their kitchen table and they began NAMI. And that's how we got started. So there's some more facts. For time's sake, I won't take us through all the years, but you have them. And I'll end there. Is it good?
Questions? Any questions?
Just a comment. Thank you, Jaden, for your advocacy and leadership. Commissioner for the Department for Behavioral Health, Developmental, and Intellectual Disabilities. So obviously this was a presentation after my own heart. Grateful for the partnership, grateful for the voice that you consistently provide with all of NAMI about the importance of community-based services and doing everything we can to keep folks in community where they can recover and thrive together. And just also, I noted in your slide on mental health court, the prevalence of co-occurring conditions. I think just wanted to underscore 90% of the individuals have both a co-occurring mental health and substance use disorder. And so high praise for collecting that data. It's important that we know the baseline and just underscores the challenge that we have to serve both conditions in parallel. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Marks has also attended several of our NAMI advocacy days and also spoke there.
I wanted to highlight, in fact, I wrote a note to my cohort over here on the 17.7% recidivism rate. That's amazing.
It is.
Great number.
Judge Tackett and the court, they do amazing work. We get just ample referrals, and they do take as many as they can. We're actually exceeding our budget and just funding from our general budget to try to take as many as we can. And it's just the numbers speak to the success.
I'm not going to ask a veteran question because you have a built-in veteran program and training and things like that. And I do want to learn more about it and connect more veterans to what you all do. But it is great that you all are out front and helping veterans as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Our veteran program is known as NAMI Homefront, and I'm happy to share information.
Step on somebody. Okay. Just a quick question. I was looking at, we had talked before about in the rural areas of the state, maybe there being some, the NAMI chapters are focused in certain areas. If somebody in, say, mine and Judge Green's end of the state wanted to start a chapter, maybe it was one or two people and they weren't sure what to do, what advice would you give those people in maybe some of the reaches of the state that maybe doesn't, maybe sort of is underrepresented here? What can they do to start a chapter?
Yeah, absolutely. So NAMI, to start a chapter, you need 2 dedicated volunteers at minimum. And with that being said, your 2 volunteers, that's who's going to do your outreach and your advertising in your local community. No one knows your local community like your residents there. So once you have your 2 volunteers, they'll either contact your local community center, a church, or even maybe their basement, a free space where they can start hosting at base a support group, a gathering of 2 to 5 individuals, and just reflecting with one another, encouraging one another, and starting at that level of a NAMI Connections group. And with that group, of course, your 2 volunteers, they would then be trained online through NAMI National, so they're well versed to what they can provide to your community. But that's how it starts.
Thank you for your presentation. I wondered if you could give us an example of a policy change that you all have advocated for.
Yes, I think, and this was very much a collective effort, but I think House Bill 485 may be the most recent. I know the commission focused a little bit more on language specific to 202C. NAMI really honed in on language with 202A and the involuntary commitment process. Our director, Kelly Gunning, has been just a steadfast advocate on wanting to clarify that language around dangerousness, danger, a benefit from treatment. So I do think we were instrumental in getting some of that language clarified to the final
Thank you.
final piece.
Thank you, Jaden. Play an important role in promoting mental health awareness, education all across Kentucky. We thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the committee and workshop updates, work group updates. In your materials, you'll find the quarterly reports for all work groups. Up first, we have Amy Luttrell, CEO and President of Goodwill Industries for the Treatment and Access Committee.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I'd like to first thank the chairs of our 3 work groups, and those are Crystal Adams, who chairs intellectual or IDD, I'll just call it, and developmental disabilities, our Judge Stephanie Burke, who chairs court responses, and Doctors Mark Woods and Lindsay Jasinski, who co-chair our Strengthening Communities work group. They all put in a lot of time and do a great job keeping this work moving forward. And of course, as always, thank Shauna and Maria and the rest of our AOC team for the excellent support that they give. I believe that Crystal Adams, yes, I see her, is online with us today, and I'm going to begin by asking her to give an update on the work of the IDD work group. Crystal?
Good afternoon, everyone. This past quarter, we did meet and we were able to receive presentations on Stable Kentucky and a lot of good information on how individuals with disabilities can work and maintain some finances whilst not impacting their disability benefits. We continue to support implementation of the former commission legislative item that was called SB 26 related to protections for parents and prospective caregivers with disabilities. And we're supporting the implementation of that by DCBS. We have continued our collaboration with guardianship and competency work groups on activities related to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we intend to continue to provide some recommendations and collaborate with those work groups on specific items related to those topics. We continue to work on developing training for the courts on a variety of topics related to autism, intellectual, and other developmental disabilities. And we hope to continue to build that library of resources for individuals to access and improve their knowledge as well. Our group plans to review the national core indicators at our next meeting. That data is provided both from surveys across the state of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but also is done at a national level. So we can see how we are doing in various areas in Kentucky, as well as how we compare to the national level. And we use that information a lot within the division to give us information on areas of focus. And so we're going to share that with this group to give an idea of what are things that impact the justice system and how can we use that information to help guide us into additional areas of focus for the future. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Crystal? Don't see any. Thank you, Crystal. So as I said, Judge Burke is not able to be with us today, so I'll try to give that report. The work group has met a couple of times. One thing that happened is Kentucky's Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities asked for input from the work group as they are trying to provide training for clinicians and judges and others just to increase their understanding of the ASAM criteria, which is a set of standards for effective services and placement of people with addiction and co-occurring conditions. And so the work group did provide their feedback on that. This group has also continued to discuss the progress that we've made here in Kentucky on implementing AOT, assisted outpatient treatment, across the state. And I put down in my notes that in March, that was being done in 29 counties, which compares with 5 counties back in 2022, just a few years ago. So, and that may have increased since then, I don't know. But the work group is very encouraged with that progress and the successes that they see coming out of that implementation. And then that group also continued discussed recent changes to the 202A statute and concerns with some of the aspects of that implementation. Any questions? I hesitate to even ask you this because I don't know that I can answer any questions, but Shauna and Maria probably can if you have any. Okay, and these reports are also in your packet if you want more information. So finally, our Strengthening Communities work group and Drs. Woods and Jasinski are also not with us today, so I'll try to report on that group's work. They have prioritized addressing stigmatizing language through some training initiatives, partly in the form of some short videos, which will feature people who have some lived experience in that area and emphasizing gentle correction. We were all learning that phrase to help all of us do better. And also there's the possibility of a social media campaign, which could use some of those materials. And the priority populations that the group has identified to begin with are substance abuse disorder, suicide, and then justice-involved individuals in that order. So work has already begun on those projects. The group also reviewed suggestions that several work group members had made for possible legislative changes, and there are some follow-up tasks that were identified just to help inform the ultimate decisions about whether to recommend any of those. So any questions on the Strengthening Communities work group? All right, as I said, those reports are also in your packet for more information, and I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
And Crystal, next we have Judge Cutoff on Zoom. There he is.
Good afternoon, Justice. I'm here for the Civil and Family Justice Committee. Would like to thank everybody who's helped me, and it's a big group. I take a lot of help. Shauna, of course, and Maria, and Heather Weiss, and Rebecca Heisel, and my Vice Chair, Chris Griffith. They do a wonderful job with our committee. Just briefly about our committee, we last met on May 21st. And during this quarter, the Civil and Family Justice work groups have continued their focus on strengthening court processes educational initiatives and resource development related to family court, guardianship, commitment, and domestic violence matters. Some of our key areas include revising and updating AOC forms relating to guardianship and commitment proceedings to provide clarity and streamline court processes for litigants. We're also supporting the implementation and education efforts related to the new 202C statutory changes that were brought about this legislative session. And we are developing best practice guides, FAQs, trainings, and educational materials for judges, attorneys, court personnel, and families. And we're also expanding domestic violence education awareness and resource accessibility across schools, courts, and community settings. We also have some work group leaders who do yeoman's work. Our domestic violence work group is led by Judge Denise Brown. Our dependency, neglect, and abuse work group is led by Judge Marcus Vanover. And our guardianship and commitment work groups are led by Kenton County Attorney Stacy Tapke. I believe Judge Vanover is there. Possibly.
If I can figure out how to work the microphone.
There you go. Judge Vanover is going to give our dependency, neglect, and abuse report. Thank you, sir.
So I'll start with talking about the work group priorities that we've been working on. We've been working on enhancing collaboration with systems partners. Last year, we produced a series of videos called Relationships Matters Series 2. The new work group priority is working on the next set of trainings for Relationships Matters 3. The group is now headed by Judge Dawn Blair and Melanie Taylor with the cabinet. And they're coming up with new topics for the presentations, which will, let's see. They've been collecting data and survey responses to determine what areas they need to focus on with these trainings and hope to identify presenters and the programs so that these can be available for presentation in the first part of next year. The second priority area has been understanding the role of treatment providers. We are still working on our frequently asked questions placard, and that is awaiting final review from the legal department. We've also been working on enhancing training around mental health issues. I think I'm missing one here. Understanding the role of treatment providers. A resource guide. We've been working on a resource guide that is also awaiting legal review and should be ready to go hopefully by the end of the year. The enhancing training around mental health issues. We've been working with representatives here at AOC to provide training for the court-appointed guardians ad litem and court-appointed counsel. Those trainings have been going on for several years, but we've worked with them to enhance our training around mental health issues to make sure that we're providing our appointed attorneys with the best training that we can. The trainings are offered 3 times each spring and 3 times each fall, and they've been working on putting together the dates for the spring training. I frankly, actually think those just concluded. After each of the series of trainings, they are evaluated and revised so that they can stay up to date on current issues and current law, and we'll begin working on the trainings for the fall sessions shortly. Another priority area that we have discussed is creating resources for DNA cases. So we're trying to keep our participants in DNA cases more informed, and we're trying to develop resources that we can give out to the litigants so that they'll better understand what the processes are, the roles that different people play in the processes, and we're trying to tailor these both for the adults and the children involved so that everybody has a better understanding of what court does and how that impacts our families. Let's see. We have also been working on and discussing some legislative priorities and how things could work together between work groups. We've been collaborating with Kentucky Youth Advocates over the last year and the Judicial Engagement Work Group on reviewing guardian ad litem appointments and compensation practices. We have, let's see, which one? The last meeting, we discussed youth with disabilities and guardianship concerns, and we're trying to figure out if we can work in conjunction with our guardianship and commitment teams to better address some issues with youth with disabilities. We've also discussed if there's things we can do to address the recommitment gap for former foster youth and working with the cabinet in that regard. And finally, we discussed representation on some issues that have arisen with legal representation in both 202A cases and child support contempt issues. And that's kind of what our work group has been discussing. The last thing I want to add is I want to thank and congratulate Dolores Smith, who has been working with our work group since our inception. Dolores is retiring August 1st, I think. And frankly, I don't know how we're going to proceed without her. She's been great about keeping us organized, making sure that we have all of our members together and names for new people that we need to include for new perspectives, keeping our notes going, frankly, keeping my schedule going, and putting all this together so I sound like I know what I'm talking about. I want to thank Dolores and tell her how much we're going to miss her and congratulate her on her impending retirement.
Thank you, Judge Vanover, and I second that about Dolores. She's wonderful and has helped our entire committee tremendously. So thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions for Judge Vanover about his work group? All right. Judge Vanover does great work, and I appreciate all of his time. We'll move on to the domestic violence work group. Judge Denise Brown was unable to be here today, so I'm not going to give the entire report. I'm going to refer you to the report in the packet, but I will hit the highlights. I know they met May 20th, the last time they had a work group meeting. They are continuing to advance priorities for domestic violence issues through 3 different subgroups. Number 1 would be bench cards and standardized trainings. Number 2 would be domestic violence advocacy in schools. And number 3 would be multidisciplinary teams. And their action items include finalizing and distributing domestic violence training surveys to judges, developing a FAQ resource for judicial and court partners related to custody matters involving domestic violence, finalizing the Advocating Safety, a school-based approach to dating violence prevention, that resource guide. They are exploring developing a resource related to advocacy in the schools during the legislative interim. They're connecting with Find Help Now regarding domestic violence services, and they will continue to explore curriculum and trainings for peer support specialists, detention centers, and KSP. I did not attend that work group, so I will not be taking questions at this time. But if anybody has questions, I'm sure Shauna or Maria would be glad to answer them. So, all right. And Stacy Tapke was also unavailable to be here today with regards to the guardianship and the commitment work groups. I think she got called into a meeting from her local family court judges. So as judges, we like people to show up when we call meetings. So I guess that was important for her to be there. But on the guardianship work group, they're continuing to focus on improving guardianship processes and increasing clarity for courts, parties, and system partners navigating the guardianship proceedings. They're working on new forms for AOC for judges, hoping that those forms get a little clearer for the people who receive them. Their action items, they are continuing to expand trainings for GALs in guardianship proceedings, which I greatly appreciate. They are continuing to explore educational opportunities on guardianship processes and family home providers. They're collaborating with the Kentucky Guardianship Association, and they are coordinating outreach and distribution of updated guardianship forms to system partners. And the commitment work group is continuing to focus on improving the involuntary commitment process through form revisions, implementation planning, and cross-system collaboration related to the recent statutory changes impacting 202A. Those changes were vast. So as judges, I know we are going to have education this fall so that we are all up to date on those changes, because it will really modify how we do things with regards to 202A. So their action items, again, revising additional AOC forms that are going to be necessary, continue to explore the options for 202A process map and or resource tools, continue coordinating with local CMHCs on training and implementation needs, and they're going to support the findings and action items from the 202A virtual forums that will take place, have taken place also. Again, if anybody has questions, Shauna and or Maria would be happy to help with that. They met April 8th and May 13th, so they continue to do good work in that work group as well. Justice Conley, that's all I've got.
Thanks, Judge Cutoff and Judge Vanover and all workshop leads. And a special shout out to Dolores Smith. Lastly, we have Criminal Justice Committee provided by Judge Mayer. Judge, you ready?
I am ready, and that is because I have to say thank you again to all of the folks who take care of us. I had a judicial commitment over the last 6 weeks that had me largely absented from my professional and my personal life. The fact that I'm able to sit here and give you an update today is based solely on the committed work of our AOC staff. Judge Tackett, who's the vice chair and was unable to be here today, and the committed work of our work group leaders who show up on a very regular basis and keep us moving forward. Progress isn't always leaps and bounds, but we make leaps and bounds by the incremental work that these folks have been doing. And so I'm grateful every commission meeting, but I'm particularly grateful today for you all taking care of me and taking care of this group, and for our work group leads standing up and doing what's needed so we keep advancing our efforts. As for the Criminal Justice Committee, this quarter, the criminal justice work groups continued focusing on competency processes, diversion and reentry initiatives, and improving coordination between behavioral health, court, and community systems. Some of the key priorities include strengthening competency-related education, court practices, and statewide training efforts connected to Seth's Law and recent 202C statutory changes. We've also worked on analyzing statewide jail survey findings to identify priority areas related to behavioral health, diversion, reentry, and service gaps across Kentucky, supporting the development of diversion and deflection strategies that complement existing court and behavioral health initiatives, developing juvenile competency resources that are in addition to family-focused materials and youth behavioral resource coordination efforts, and strengthening reentry coordination, resource awareness, and community-based supports for justice-involved individuals returning to communities across the state. I'm going to turn this over to the work group leads in a moment. Erica Hargis of Reentry is here with us today. Steve Shannon is joining virtually. I'm going to start with competency and juvenile justice because we don't have work group leads here, and I will be giving those on behalf of everyone. I know folks are disappointed to hear me giving the competency group update instead of Dr. Slusher, who's both more interesting and intelligent than I am, but I will do my best to accurately report the information I've been given, and then I will tell folks to probably follow up with Dr. Slusher or with Shauna or Maria. The Kentucky Clerk's Manual is being updated to include competency evaluation and restoration procedures under KRS 504. Those modifications are in the final stages of approval. The work group continues to discuss and problem solve the low utilization of Seth's Law forms. Currently discussing the practices of firearms prohibition, including notice to Kentucky State Police and the FBI for inclusion in the National Instant Criminal Background System Check System, or NCIS, right? What's our shorthand?
NCIC?
Yes. The thing that none of us have access to, but we all talk about all the time. Someone in here has access to it, but it won't be me. We've also been discussing driver's license revocation when someone is adjudicated incompetent. The work group is exploring statewide support regarding the implementation of recent KRS 202C statutory changes under Senate Bill 122. With respect to jail-based competency restoration programs in Jefferson and Fayette counties, Louisville Metro Department of Corrections has served 96 KCPC and Central State Hospital patients. The program has a restoration rate of 52%. There's a new medical provider, 3 Cs, because Yes Care has been folded into both Fayette County Detention Center and Louisville Metro Department of Corrections. 3 Cs will continue the jail-based programming on behalf of KCPC, Central State, and Eastern State. And with respect to our KCPC update, as of May 28th, 2026, the inpatient wait list is 58. 52 of those persons are in jails. Wait time is 2 to 5 months. The outpatient wait list is 211 persons, and that number continues to rise. Wait time for evaluation completion remains at 12 weeks. The KCPC 202C population currently is 20 persons, 1 being a female. Current 202C patients' average length of stay is 710 days, and total number of 202C petitions since law was enacted in 2021 is 49. Regarding juvenile justice, you will see that most of the information for that work group is included in your packet, and I will refer you to it. But I will give you some limited information here, and that is that the juvenile justice work group continues to navigate a leadership transition. However, work continues through the legislative priorities and mapping subgroups. Efforts currently underway include the development of user-friendly juvenile competency and KRS 654 reference materials. That sounds like a huge effort, user-friendly in front of those particular activities. They are in the early stages of developing a family and youth-focused juvenile court resource at a glance, if you will, and conducting a review of service directories through the lens of families or youth who may be seeking service, access, or for those navigating the system. And there's additional focus areas, including making juvenile justice materials easier to understand and navigate, along with the development of a youth behavioral system and competency evaluator resource list. The purpose of this is to support broader juvenile competency framework efforts across the state. So again, with respect to competency in juvenile justice, I was not able to participate in these most recent work group meetings. I cannot answer those questions individually. If you have questions right now, I'm going to refer you to some of our AOC support folks who are involved in all of this meaningful work, or perhaps the work group leads at another time. And right now we have Steve Shannon, who is our pre-arrest and diversion group work group leader. And you may go ahead and do your update, please.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Judge. Again, like everyone else, I want to thank the staff at AOC. They make this process a lot easier. They coordinate, they organize, they set the agenda, they help us set the agenda, and just couldn't do it without Shauna, Heather, and Maria. So it really makes the job much easier for me, and I appreciate that. We have met. Our focus has been a jail survey. You heard about that already. We talked a lot about the jail survey. And our partners at UK, they've participated. They encouraged, cajoled other people to jailers to respond. We got a fairly decent, robust response to that. Our partners at UK have synthesized that data, formulated it into a document we can use. I think several work groups will be looking at that jail survey data, but we clearly will be. As a pre-arrest and diversion, what can we do to minimize length of stays in jail and get people back home? Those who are able to get back home and not be involved with really the judicial system, if at all possible. We were going to meet this past Monday. I had to cancel. I apologize for that. We met in May. We've heard presentations from other folks as well. I think Scott County program they have that relates to pre-arrest and diversion, the success they've had, so that's useful for us. And we're now looking really forward to digging into the jail survey data that's applicable to what we do, and this the pre-arrest and diversion work group, and come up with some recommendations based on that. And again, appreciate the opportunity, and thank you very much.
Does anyone have any questions for Steve regarding pre-arrest and diversion? All right, thank you very much for the update. And that would then take us to Erica Hargis, who's with us in person. Erica, if you go ahead and update us on our reentry group.
Yes, thank you, Judge.
We have been able to meet this quarter, and we also have had some presentations. Our meetings have surrounded the jail survey thing that we're waiting on from Steve's group. So once Steve's group goes through it and decides what they want to do, what topics they're going to address, then they're kind of throw the reentry ones our way, and then we're going to dive into those. So we're really anticipating that because we know that's exactly where our work is going to happen, and we're really going to see some results. We have heard from Susanna with UK about some of the early outcomes, so we can kind of anticipate what we're looking for. One thing we identified as an action item that we've been working on is developing a community resource list. I know with my work with the DOC, we're excited to get that, and I think it'll be helpful, but I also think it's going to be helpful and translatable to a lot of different areas. And so we're excited to get that list finalized. Once we get the results from the jail survey, we plan on kind of identifying people in our work group to kind of lead little pieces of that. And so then we can move a little quicker than we have. As Judge said earlier, we're going a little slower, but we're still working. The group that we heard from, People Advocating Recovery, we heard from Melissa Algier, and if you all haven't heard from her, you should. It was a wonderful presentation. We were very thankful to hear about the work they're doing over there. It gave everybody on our work group an opportunity to collaborate with them and kind of come along and be able to support some of our reentry efforts. It's just one more person in our toolbox, one more group that we can collaborate with. And so we were thankful to add that to our wealth of knowledge from our work group. So that is what we're doing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Erica. Any questions for her?
I would just like to state that reentry is so important, for any of us judges who see people coming back. If you don't have a good reentry, you're probably going to see them back. So that's what you're working on is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And we took it very seriously at the very beginning, separating out, are we talking about county inmates? Are we talking about state inmates? And we really dove into where can we plug in? Because there are a lot of reentry efforts. You hear this all the time. And we said, where can this work group really get in and help? And that's where that information from the jail survey is really going to inform us exactly where the gaps are.
Good job.
The jail survey is a great accumulation of data, and it's a great tool and something that's going to assist in a lot of the efforts for the Criminal Justice Committee and specifically pre-arrest and diversion and reentry. And it is one of those things at the same time that you have to read it and digest it and think about how you can meaningfully use it in application instead of just kind of jumping in and seeing what fits. And Erica and that group, reentry is a late addition to the Criminal Justice Committee. It was not one of our initial work groups. They've been very valuable and they've been very deliberate in the work they're doing. So I would not say that you all have been slow that's not the right way to describe it, but considered and thoughtful about your work and working even when you didn't necessarily have the tool that you're waiting on to complete it. So appreciate all of the efforts from our work group leads, the organization that they bring, their own professional experience and insights. And grateful for everything you all have been doing over the past several months, but also over the past several years. So that's it for us, Justice Conley.
Thanks, Judge. Great work for all of the work groups. And speaking of Dolores, we have Dolores here. Thank you, Dolores, for 30 years at AOC.
Thank you so very much.
Good job.
I am humbled beyond belief. I appreciate that greatly. Thank you.
We appreciate the work you've done.
Well, it's a privilege being at the AOC for 30 years. It truly has been.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be anywhere for 30 years. Okay. At this time, we're going to open up the floor for agency updates. We'll just use a round table approach here. If you have anything exciting or your agency's working on or anything you want to say or bring up, please speak up. So I don't know, you want to start? We'll start over here.
Chief.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, hello, everyone. So Stephen Stack, Secretary for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. One thing on a positive note, another thing then on a less positive note. On the positive note, we had the opportunity to go to a reentry simulation. I don't know how many people have done that. Perhaps this audience would be one that has. The Department of Corrections did this for us, and it's very impactful for anyone who hasn't had a chance to go through that, to get a real sense for it's amazing for feeling like a game. It really makes it real how hard it is to try to accomplish all these different tasks. And a number of inmates, they were playing the roles around the periphery of the room. And I think it was good for all the audiences involved in the room to have that engagement. So thanks to the Department of Corrections. Cookie Cruz is up here. Commissioner Cruz and her team did a nice job for us. So thank you. That's the positive note. On the less positive note, as a result of the budget that was recently enacted, we're going to have to do some belt tightening in the cabinet. This is not going to be welcome belt tightening. I don't have details I'll share now, but the details will start to become very apparent here in the next days and weeks this month. Please know that this cabinet and the administration remains committed to all this wonderful work that we've been doing and making continued forward progress. I would be misrepresenting it if I didn't say, though, there will be some challenges because some of these programs that have helped us to achieve some of these successes may experience some reduced fundings and support, and it is as it is. I have to align the expenses, as I'm sure you appreciate, with the revenue that's provided to operate the program. So for the chiefs here, you always can have access to me if you have questions or concerns. Of course, we have two of our commissioners here in the room here for DCBS and behavioral health. Please know that we're doing everything we can to responsibly manage the budget that we've been given, and look forward to our partnership and creative ideas. If we create or uncover new problems when we do these implementations, we certainly want to be in discussion with folks. And I would like to avoid being held in contempt, if at all possible, in my role as secretary. So thank you very much.
We all know about that belt tightening. Yes. Yes, Doctor.
I'll follow with just a few really positive comments. First of all, the number of times I heard mentioned preparation for changes to 202A and 202C, and the number of work groups that are partnering with our department and thinking proactively about education and training. We're just deeply grateful for that collaboration. And I also want to name gratitude specifically for Dr. David Sussman and his work in coordinating that. He has been a tremendous asset to us all. Two really shining spots for us right now in terms of opportunities. One was mentioned earlier by Amy, the judicial and forensic trainings that we've been able to offer, focused on ASAM, the American Society of Addiction Medicine's criteria for assessment of individuals with substance use disorder and recommendation of the types of services and supports they need. That training has been a tremendous success, and we're really grateful for the partnership on the judicial and forensic training specifically. In total, there's been 25 of these trainings completed, and every training has 50 slots that fills up every time. And so the hunger and interest in this has been phenomenal. We have 3 forensic trainings that already have filled up completely and are going to offer more. And we have some opportunities for more judges training specifically. And so we want to continue to offer those. The other great opportunity coming up is our annual System of Care Academy. And System of Care is specifically focused on our children, transition age youth, and their families, that behavioral health system. So we have 13 free trainings that are focused on everything from eating disorders to inclusion to assessment modalities, but 2,700 individuals have already registered for this training. It's just another testament to how hungry our workforce is for this type of support. And we're grateful to be able to offer that. And we know that there are many judicial commission members that are making that a success for us, either by being presenters or helping us to fill those virtual slots. So we'll follow up with flyers on both of these after the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you all. It's all great information for sharing. I have a few, I guess, programs that we have. One is good segue is with the Cabinet Health and Family Services Dale department. We have a program we started called Connect to Vet, and we have about 80 free phones for veterans 60 years and older or with a Kentucky recognized TBI. And we try and it has multiple on the phones. They have different apps and numbers, to the different community mental health centers, so they can have access to those things. So if anybody want to share this information, I can get you the hard copy. Well, and we can share the flyer with Shauna, so everybody can have that. Kentucky has a free app for all veterans in Kentucky. You all probably seen this before, but Here Now Help, so we can share this as well. Again, it's a great opportunity. This is not to replace 911 or 988, but one of the things that this app provides, if they're in their crisis moment, they can also call and get in touch with a licensed provider through this app. So this is a great opportunity for Kentucky veterans. Then we have a Kentucky Department of Veteran Affairs. My Commissioner Whitney Allen. We have a virtual job fair. It is for any employee and any person, any employer, and any person is seeking employment. The first hour is just for veterans and their family, but the other 3 hours is for anybody, and this is free. So state organizations that are employing out of the country, national organizations that would like to recruit again. So I have a hard copy for July and June here, if anybody would like that, but I can share the digital copy, as well. Yeah, the June is here. And the last thing, doing some research on connectivity throughout Kentucky for veterans. Of course, we know that there's some low spots, especially in Eastern Kentucky, some places in Western Kentucky. So I'm trying to find out if anybody can assist me with finding the areas that we know that there's no or low cell coverage and things like that, and internet coverage, because what we're trying to do is connect with the VA Atlas program, where that program is structured so that in those places, businesses or organizations that would like to, they can provide a place for a veteran to come in to do their virtual appointments or their telehealth appointments. So that's the purpose of Atlas. And then we are also seeking funding to provide Starlink in some of those organizations, some of those places where there's low connectivity. So if anybody have any information regarding low spots and things like that, if you can help me with that as we continue to do some assessments to provide, to bridge those gaps of connectivity, things like that. So thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. That's some great information and great opportunities for our veterans.
And could we talk afterwards about an idea I just had that might not be worth anything, but it might help?
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Amy.
Hit that button. I work for Goodwill, Kentucky, and I just wanted to follow up on Jaden's NAMI presentation that she made on the number of Kentuckians who don't have good access to mental health treatment. And we operate 12 resource centers around the state called Opportunity Centers, and we have mental health supports at all of those, because most of the people who come to our doors, our services are available to anybody, but most of the people who come have difficult backgrounds in recovery, justice involvement, people who are or have been living on the streets. And we recognize we try to provide a community of support, but we're not mental health specialists. So we partner with other organizations who do have that expertise and make that available at all of our centers. Plus, the majority of our workforce have that same background, and we have about probably over 2,000 entry-level positions where we hire people who really don't have a lot of stability yet and aren't as likely to succeed at that point with other employers. And again, we try to surround them with a community of support. But because of the fact that they're just getting started and many don't take our health insurance coverage, we also purchased coverage that provides any employee, whether they're on our health insurance or not, with up to 12 free sessions a month or a year of mental health therapy that they may need. And that can be either virtual or in person in certain communities. So just wanted to say that we also identified that as a huge need that people had. And we couldn't figure out another way to address it. And so found that.
Anybody not present but want to say something? No? Okay. Okay, as we come to close today's meeting, I want to sincerely thank each of you for your participation and dedication and continued commitment to this work. As we've discussed today and today's conversations have proven, Commission continues to make meaningful progress across the state along a wide range of initiatives. It looks like this is going to be another good year. Every project, every partnership, every conversation helps us move closer to a more responsive, compassionate, and effective system for the people of Kentucky. The progress we celebrate today wouldn't be possible without the expertise, leadership, and dedication of individuals like you all who provide that for us. Thank you for your service, and thank you for the people of the Commonwealth who don't really realize it, but we are serving them. Please travel safely, and I look forward to seeing you at our next meeting, which is September 18th. September 18th. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.